I'm here in this hidden pearl in Warsaw. This is the Jewish cemetery on ulica Okopowa. This cemetery opened in 1806, and since then it has served the Jewish community in Warsaw. But it's more than that. It's a valuable historical resource. When so much else was destroyed, during the Second World War particularly, this place survived remarkably. We'll be meeting some of the people who are restoring it, who are keeping it going. So do join me on this exciting episode of Poland Daily History. So, Michał, we're standing here in front of a group of tombs belonging to or remembering the Lesser family. What can you tell us about these?
The part of the cemetery we are right now, it's a, let's say, collection of tombstones of very rich families, families that were very strong connected to Polish culture. For example, Aleksander Lesser was a famous Polish painter, very well known. Hippolyt Wawelberg was a creator of first Polish private technical university, right. And plenty other institutions. Samuel Orgelbrand was the publisher of the first Polish encyclopedia. So people buried in that part of area are not only Jews buried in Warsaw, but also creators of Polish cultural life, social life, and scientific life. So here is the heart of the cemetery, Polish heart of the cemetery.
So that's very important from a Polish cultural point of view as well as from a Jewish point of view. And these, I think, these are examples of tombstones which have been renovated by your foundation relatively recently.
Yes, we started to renovate all this area. It's going to take some years because there are more than 400 tombstones we have on our list, and we're renovating only 50, 60 tombstones each year. But this part is most important not only because of the importance of the persons are buried here, but also these are masterpieces of the sculptures.
Yeah, exactly. When you look at this one, it's particularly notable. For example, you'd almost say this is sort of like an Arabic design, which
because it's one of the really few Arabic-style tombstones at Jewish cemeteries in Europe. This one was created by the Christian sculptor Andrzej Pruszyński, because we have to remember that most of the Jewish tombstones were created by Jewish sculpture, and only few, and especially at this cemetery and in Łódź, are created by Christian sculptures. But it is another proof that some parts of our both societies were so strong connected and improving each other.
So there's really, so people were prepared to adapt and take in the cultural influences of wherever they came from to create these wonderful memorials, taking in whatever decoration, whatever was fashionable at the time, whatever they felt would make a grand impression.
Yeah, but we still have to remember that those tombstones is something, those beautiful tombstones, something unusual for Jewish culture, Jewish cemeteries. At this cemetery, more than 50,000 graves are traditional, simple matzevas, and the fact they are still existing, that they haven't been transformed into, I don't know, roads or other things like Germans do in World War II with most of the matzevas in the countryside. So it's also a very important monument of the Jewish history in Warsaw and in Poland.
Yeah, well, indeed, given the prominence, I think, of the Jewish population within the history of world Jewry, also it has a worldwide significance, not just related to Poland and not just to Warsaw. But I was particularly struck by by this marvellous tomb of Henrik Vavelberg. Of course, as we were discussing earlier, the Jewish tradition is that folk are buried in the ground, and here we have a sarcophagus actually raised up.
Yes, it's typical from ancient times and for Christian culture. So it's got nothing to do with almost nothing to do with the Jewish culture, except look at that. There's a kind of material on the top of it. Yes, yeah. So it's only small symbolic material that's not a Christian grave. But till now, Jews are buried only in the ground. So yes, it's another symbol of coexistence of both cultures and influence.
Well, I suppose that would be inevitable. That you would, especially if you were wealthy and you wanted the world to remember you when you'd gone, you would want to make a statement, and that, I think, of all the ones we've seen today, certainly makes the boldest statement in terms of a memorial of Henrik Vavelberg and other members of his family, as we mentioned earlier.
But creating such a large and beautiful monument, it's not a Jewish style of
well, I agree, but
it's important for us Christians to build to leave the beautiful monument on our graves. And Jewish graves are very simple. So just take a look. This person, Hippolyte Vavelberg, who was very rich, very important person, created Technical University and several others institutions, decided to put a single simple grave.
Yes.
Because his idea was to create other monuments in his life. He did, like this Technical University. So his
grave, because he'd done so much, we can go and see it. It's a bit like when Sir Christopher Wren, the architect of St. Paul's Cathedral in London, was asked why there was no monument to him. And he said in Latin, si monumentum requiris circumspice. If you want a monument, look around. And I suppose what we're saying is that this particular Vavelberg took the same view. My technical university, the first of its kind in Poland, is my monument.
Precisely.
My grave or my tomb can be very simple.
Yes, but most of the Christians think a little bit different. So that's why we have so many monuments in Christian style.
And I think also it's probably the time. I think in the 19th century, wealthy people, whatever their religion, wherever they were from, liked to go out in a blaze of glory. Yeah. And this was, I think, very much of the age. These sort of flamboyant, these great monuments. I suppose it's inevitable, even if you are of the Jewish faith, to be partly taken in, absorb the sort of the times in which you lived.
But very unusual is that the Jewish monuments from that time are also based on Christian symbols, like this sarcophagus.
Yes, we were walking around earlier and we saw one, and it marvellous thing, and it actually had inside, it seemed to me, the symbols of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, who wrote the Gospel. This is obviously a Jewish tomb, but you could see the carving was very, very Christian in that sense, which is interesting. Of this sort of cultural sort of mixture, which I found quite fascinating, because I expected in a Jewish cemetery not to see anything that was overtly or could be interpreted as Christian. But I suppose people were keen to absorb the culture of the time.
Yeah, but in this cemetery, this cemetery is one of the most valuable parts of Jewish heritage in Poland that still exists. That's why it started to be protected by the states some years ago, and something like 50 years ago it's protected by the state. But 2 years ago there was established a special endowment fund. This endowment fund has been established by Polish state. It was a special bill on that. It was something about 25 millions of euro that was been given by the state to our foundation to have this endowment fund. And since that moment we can organize this restoration work in a very long-term way. So we know that this cemetery is important. We would like to protect it, but we've got to know the cemetery better. We have to discover all those stories, all those monuments and those parts of monuments that are hidden somewhere. Somewhere here.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's vital to the understanding of the history of both, obviously, Poland, but the history of the Jews in Poland. And
in Poland and in the whole Europe, for example, the parents of the establisher of the company Citroën are being buried here.
Really?
So such stories are. Unfortunately, they sold the people that established Citroën sold the company, so they cannot help us with the restoration process.
Pity.
But there are plenty of such stories here, and very often people from France, from Germany, from Israel are sending us emails asking about the ancestors' graves here. So people that are buried here right now, their families are all over the world. And
so it's a very important source of information.
It's a very important source of information, especially we don't have archives. We've got only this, what's written in the stone. So that's why we have to check it, protect it, and then send to the world information that those tombstones still exist.
Well, it is remarkable that this is not more well known. As you were saying earlier, that a lot of people, even in Warsaw, don't come here very often, and here they have on their doorstep this marvellous source of history, and also these marvellous monuments to look at, even if you only like looking at beautiful things. There are plenty of beautiful things to look at, and it's a sort of an oasis of peace in the city as well. We're here and it's quiet, we hear the birds and nature.
But each year the scale of touristic movement is larger. Each year there are more and more, especially Polish tourists coming here. The cemetery is much more well known than 5 or 10 years ago, so it's a good idea to renovate it for those who haven't been here before. Of course, we are inviting also foreign tourists because it's a unique place not only in Poland but in whole Europe.
Michał, we've seen the work you're doing and the marvellous work of your foundation. What would you say are the biggest challenges for the future when you look at what you'd like to do here in the cemetery?
Of course, we've got plenty technical challenges, especially trees. Each week, a few trees are falling down, destroying the other grass. We have to remove all the dead and dangerous trees. It's a technical goal for next few months. But I'm afraid that this cemetery won't be so beautiful as it was before, because this jungle in the middle of the town, of the city, those tombstones covered with the leaves, with the special plants, it was something magnificent, something very, very beautiful. And right now we are doing the things that are going to provide to destruction of these beautiful views. So I'm afraid we are going to rebuild the cemetery in a way that's absolutely different. So this cemetery will have to be discovered for all those people that visited 10 or 15 years ago one more time, because it was the last moment to do such work. The plants here are too old, they are destroying the monuments. So if we'll have to keep this cemetery for the other generations, we have to do the work we are doing.
So in a sense, the preservation of the monuments is good, but it might lose some of its magic as a mystical place with overgrown nature and sort of quiet and unspoiled.
That's for sure. But that's for sure. When I first time visited this place, I was really impressed of all those jungle effects. But we have to do it. We have to do it because the monuments are in a very bad condition. You can.
Well, of course, yes, we've seen.
You have seen plenty of tombstones that are just falling down each week. So unfortunately, we're gonna not revitalize this place. Maybe it's not a good word, but we would like to have this cemetery in as good condition as the other big cemeteries in Poland.